Yesterday, I'd heard that Frank Reich was fired as the coach of the Carolina Panthers, and he had the second shortest tenure ever as an NFL coach, 11 games. So interesting as to who has had the shortest tenure as an NFL coach, and that was 45 years ago. First year coach was Pete McCauley of the San Francisco 49ers. I actually remember when the 49ers were the worst team in the NFL. That year, Pete McCauley did coach them. I believe the team ended up being 2 and trying to think of how many games they had back then. 2-14, I believe. Did they play 16? I think they played 16 games by then. So I do remember when the NFL went from 6 preseason to 4 preseason games, and there were same number of games, but 2 additional regular season games. And yes, I do remember Pete McCauley being the coach of the 49ers, and remember they were playing the Redskins of an RFK, and they got wiped out. I remember Redskins. It was when Jack Party's first year with the Redskins, and he decided to go with Joe Theismann as the starting quarterback, and the game, and I guess Joe Theismann kind of went on a skid with his performance, and that game against the 49ers, they played Billy Kilmer. I remember that game. But I remember the 49ers or the Redskins wiped them out. I remember after Pete McCauley was fired, they brought in Fred O'Connor, who was an assistant somewhere, and I guess in 49ers and been an assistant with other teams, but I do believe he was later on the head coach of Catholic University, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's correct. But Pete McCauley's tenure as a head coach he lasted 9 games for the 49ers in 1978. So yeah, I do remember that, and it's kind of interesting is the next year they after the season was over, they also released Fred O'Connor, and they hired Bill Walsh from Stanford. And I believe the first year Bill Walsh took that team over, the team was 2-14, and I think it was like 6-10 the next year. And then I believe this third year he coached that team, I believe won the Super Bowl with them, beating the Cincinnati Bengals in that Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm going on memory, and everybody wants to double check the facts, just look it up on the internet. But anyway, that's what I was able to find out on the shortest tenure of a head coach in the NFL. That was pretty interesting. I do remember Frank Reich being the coach for a few years with the Colts, and it just lasted 11 games with the Carolina Panthers. And as always, I'm looking for ideas on shows to do in the future. Like I said, my show is about history, preserving history, especially obscure aspects of history, and this one's not as obscure as other topics I've discussed. But as always, like, subscribe, share, and thanks for watching.